Today's topic for the Grow Your Independent Consulting Business YouTube channel is giving yourself credit. This is a really important topic, and on the surface of it, it might seem like this is sort of a nice to have or even a waste of time to worry about giving yourself credit. But I can assure you this is one of the most important things that you could possibly do when you are running a consulting business. So today I'm going to share with you why it's so important and what you can do about it in order to make sure that you are really giving yourself credit in your business and therefore taking away a really important obstacle, a really common obstacle, I should say, for most consultants that is causing you to stall in your business, that's causing you to plateau in your business, it's causing you to be so much less fulfilled in your business than you could be. So I've got to tell you, one of the, this is something that I see so often with independent consultants. We just tend to not give ourselves credit because we're the type of people, you may relate to this, who love to find problems and to solve problems. So we're constantly scanning our environment for different challenges and problems and improvements we could be making. But sometimes that strength also becomes a weakness because we end up creating a dynamic where we're not really recognizing what is going right and missing the opportunity to amplify that. So that's why we're talking about this today. And on a personal note, I chose this particular topic for this week's video because I noticed that I was not only doing this in my own business, not giving myself enough credit, and I'll tell you the impact of that in a moment, but also I started doing it to in my personal life. I won't say I started. I've probably been doing it my whole life. Let's just be honest. But I noticed that I was really starting to do this in my personal life, and it was starting to impact my child, the oldest, who's a swimmer. You've heard him on this YouTube channel before. Actually, not on YouTube. He was on my podcast introducing it. But essentially, what I noticed was that he's a competitive swimmer. He swims 6 days a week, swims a lot. And going to the meets, I would notice that I was looking at not what he was accomplishing, but rather focusing on, well, he could have gone faster toward the wall, or why isn't he kicking more? Now, let me just be clear. I'm not saying any of this to him because I'm not his coach, nor am I qualified to be his coach, nor would any of that be helpful. Let's just be clear. But at the same time, that's so much of what my brain was focused in on. How could he dial this in, right? But really, what I was missing was the bigger picture. It really created an emotional experience for me. I'm past it now, but for the moment anyway, but I just really noticed how I wasn't giving him credit for what he had been accomplishing. I was constantly looking for what could be better. And as a result, I completely missed the fact that he had been hitting all of these milestones to the point of where, the way swimming works is essentially if you meet these certain time requirements, then you qualify for the state of that meet, the end of the season state meet. I thought in my mind he had not qualified for anything, that he wasn't doing well kind of within the team rankings and wouldn't be invited onto any relays. Like, that was sort of my thought process around it. When I actually went to go look at the data, when the team sent out the data, I was shocked. He had qualified, I think, for 9 events, and 10 events, and he could only swim in 9, including 2 relays, which he made the top relay team. Like, this is such I'm sharing with you a very personal, raw story, how horrible I felt as a mom. But I share this with you because what it highlights is when you think about running, if you're doing the same thing to yourself in your business, and I can assure you, I do the same thing that was doing to him in my mind, to my business as well. And you may very well be doing the same thing to your own business, which is not giving yourself credit for where you're actually at. What ends up happening is that you've completely missed the data points to know where you are in your business, to make decisions from that point instead of thinking you're further behind and making decisions from that point. And that's why this is so important. If you're making decisions from here when your business is really up here, your level of advancement, your level of maturity is up here, and you think it's here, you're going to be spending your time doing things like learning more, researching, better systems for business development, trying to figure out, how to get started on certain things, making a really good routine for yourself, whatever that is down here, when in fact, choosing your pricing models. Every part of your business, the way you spend your time and the way you make your decisions would be down here, when in fact you're up here. And if you give yourself credit for where you're actually at up here, you end up making decisions at such a higher level of quality, at such a different vantage point. You think about yourself in a different way, and the way you're contributing to your clients and your pricing models and your proposals that you're crafting. It literally infuses every aspect of your business. And so that's why it's so very important. And I see it so frequently. So today I really want to talk with you about how this could be impacting your business and give you some examples here, 2 or 3 examples of how this may be showing up for you in your business based on how I see it with others. So the first example that I give you is a client who came to me and said, you know what, I'm not good at business development. You may be saying this to yourself, or you may even be saying it out loud as well. I'm not good at business development. When you think you're not good at business development, even though you have clients, at least one, you've got and probably a track record of clients, when you think you're not good at business development, you end up just circling around this kind of drain, really, of someone who isn't good, thinking of yourself as not good at business development. You think of yourself as junior, someone who's learning how to do this, and approaching it in such a different level than if you said, you know what, I've landed clients. I'm getting better at business development. I'm maturing my business development processes. Do you see the difference here? One, where you think you're not good at it, I see it time and time again, especially in the example that I'm sharing with you, this particular client who really felt like he wasn't good at business development. And he could tell me all the reasons why he thought that. At the end of the day, it kept him paralyzed. It kept him procrastinating. It kept him prioritizing other things other than business development. When we started peeling back the onions and realizing, you know what, he started realizing on his own as I started really challenging his thinking on this, that he's actually really good at business development for other people. He's been very good at business development for his past employers. He's been very good at business development for other organizations, a few nonprofits that he's been volunteering for. Very good at business development. Where he's not quite as skilled yet is business development for himself. So rather than saying, I'm just not good at business development and making that blanket statement, it became such a more narrow problem for us to work on that he isn't yet quite good at selling himself. And so we can use the skills and the results that he's got in other places and transport that over to him selling himself. And we have a foundation from which to build on. So he's up here and he's thinking he's down here. Do you see that is such an example you may resonate with? Another example, I hear this all the time. I'm still figuring all of this out. I'm still trying to figure out how to run a business and deliver for my clients, for example. That's such a common statement that I hear. And when you think that way, you oftentimes will apply the wrong tools to a given problem. So an example here, when you think you're a newbie, a beginner, I'm just trying to figure out how to run a business, and you're trying to figure out how to market and sell yourself, you may go out and start searching out all sorts of solutions. And you may come across solutions that are things like running ads or posting a bunch of times on LinkedIn every week. Or, there's so many different techniques that you will come across. I can assure you, if you're on YouTube, you've seen most of them probably. Those are not necessarily the right tools for what you're trying to accomplish. When you're thinking about it from the perspective, I'm just trying to figure all of this out, you go down this rabbit hole of researching and finding these systems, but they don't apply to where you're at in your business most of the time. Versus thinking about yourself and giving yourself credit for, you know what, I'm really good at X, Y, or Z. I'm really good at networking, for example. I'm not figuring out how to network. I'm figuring out potentially how to start better converting networking conversations into opportunities. Do you see how that could lead you down such a different path? You're not figuring out something big. You're figuring out maybe something really much smaller, a micro problem. So these are some examples of giving yourself credit for where you're at in your business and not making these blanket statements of, I don't know what I'm doing as a business owner. I don't know how to work on my business and in my business. I'm not good at business development. Or the third one is a great one that I hear all the time too. Whatever I've accomplished doesn't really count. Like this client just landed in my lap. That doesn't really count. And not giving yourself credit for what you did do to attract that thing that landed in your lap, quote unquote. So again, these are really important to figure out, where are you not giving yourself credit in your business, so that then you can really understand where you're at and make decisions and priorities from there versus from kind of lower down the scale or the maturity of your business. So today I'm going to walk you through a process where you can notice where this might be happening. You either not right now in listening to this video can resonate to it at a macro level, knowing that you're doing this quite frequently, or it might be a little bit more subtle. And so I want to walk you through the process to figure out where you're doing this in your business, both blatantly and subtly, and then the 3 steps that we can put in place for you to fix it. So that's our specific agenda for today: how to recognize this business problem, why it matters, why you're not giving yourself credit. Let's just talk a little bit about the root causes so you know why you might be doing this to yourself, and it's fixable. And then finally, I'll give you those 3 steps or those 3 keys on how to start giving yourself credit so you can get out of this zone and into a more mature business owner, CEO mindset. All right. So before I get started, though, I just want to remind you, if you haven't seen this yet, it's so impactful for you and your business. It's called the Ic Scorecard. It is an independent consultant business scalability assessment. You'll go to my website, put in your name and email, and then it will ask you 26 just quick hitting questions. Takes 2 or 3 minutes to answer. And based on those answers, you'll get a 20-page report, personalized, tailored to you, your business, and the answers you gave, so that you can really figure out where the priorities would be for you to scale your business. And by scaling, I mean that your business doesn't become harder or more complicated to run. It means that you can make more money, you can make more revenue and more profit, while working in a much more streamlined fashion. You don't even have to take on team members or subs if you don't want to. So this really gives you that insight into what you can start tackling to grow your business from a profitability and impact perspective without needing to grow the level of complication in the business. In fact, you can have the opposite. You can have a more simplistic business model, more time off, and if you do it the quote unquote right way. So go take that scalability assessment so you've got that personalized report and can start taking action against it. Because that's why you're here. You want to grow your independent consulting business, and I want to help you do that in the most simplistic way. So that in the most straightforward, streamlined way. So go take that. It's completely free, and we'll give you some really good starting points to scale your business. Okay, so with that, let's now dive into this topic of giving yourself credit. And the first thing, I've given you some really good examples. I want to share with you a few more for you to really be able to recognize whether or not where you have this business problem. I'm not even going to say whether or not you have this business problem, because I've worked with so many independent consultants that have this business problem that it's incredibly rare if you don't. And again, it may be very blatant or it may be very sneaky, but it sounds like I'm not good at business development. I'm not good at sales. I've never done this before. This is new to me. And you might say, well, Melissa, it is new to me, whatever it is. And it could be. But when you think someone is new to you, it sends you, like I explained to you in that example, it sends you down such a different path than if you were to say to yourself, whatever it is that feels new to you, I've done something like this before, just a different flavor of it. That's such a different mindset and approach, and will send you into such a different kind of solving pattern than if you just think it's brand new, that is as if you just graduated from college, which you did not. So that's why I'm saying that this can be really sneaky. Another example that you might be saying, the inner dialogue could be, I'm not exactly sure what my consulting offer is, or I don't know what I want to offer to my clients. I just keep making these kind of one-off offers based on who's coming to me asking me for help. And it gets you stuck in an inability to create a consulting offer versus what do I actually already know? Another way this inner dialogue may be showing up where you're not giving yourself credit is, I'm not sure how to price this. I'm still figuring out, fill in the blank. I'm learning to fill in the blank. All of these types of inner dialogue can seem so innocent, but at the end of the day, this is what's keeping you kind of at a plateau or hitting a ceiling in the revenue that you're creating, in the profit you're creating, in the impact that you're creating, in the way that you're using your time, both as a business owner and as a consultant delivering the services. So if you're saying these types of things to yourself in a blatant way or a sneaky way, that's how you know you have this business problem and one of the root causes of the ceilings that you've probably hit in terms of your income or the way that how much time you're having to work to create that income. So now that you recognize the problem, let's talk about what's the harm? Why is this even a problem? Because a lot of times, right, these questions seem innocent or even factual in some ways. But like I've been saying to you, this is what's keeping you stuck in your business. And stuck, it could be you keep hitting against the same problem. Maybe you're making a low hourly rate compared to what you could possibly make. Maybe you're charging hourly and you want to move into value-based pricing. Maybe you're wanting to start creating advisory and retainer type work and you're not able to make that transition. Wherever it is that or maybe you're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week and you want to get it down to 30 or 40. Wherever you're getting stuck, most of the time it comes back to some form of this not giving yourself credit and therefore not thinking about and solving your business challenges from the right vantage point. So for an example, I'll give you several here. You might be missing out when you think, here's a great example. I had a client who came to me, I think it was March or April. It was Q1 or early Q2. And that client said, you know what, we're just kind of going through the basics of their business to get started. And they were explaining to me as they were going through these basics and just collecting all of the numbers, kind of like my son's swim team, right? If we just even knew what the data points were, that would be helpful. So this client was putting together what their current financials were, also what their projected financials were, and what their pipeline looked like. Those are really the three key things. And as we dove into the client's all of those numbers, this light bulb went off and they said, wow, now that I see all of this on paper and I remind myself what the goal was that I set for this year, I'm actually at like 100% visibility that I'm going to hit this goal. And it's only April. So think about that. Just those key pieces of information and giving yourself credit for where you're actually at in your business versus where your mind thinks you are, which is usually a lie. Not an on purpose lie, right? It's just our brain is designed to kind of tell us things are not going well. And so when you have the actual numbers to operate against, for this client and for you too, she ended up making her decision so much differently about the types of clients she wanted to pursue, for the rest of the year, the types of offers she wanted to make for those clients, and the types of solutions she wanted to implement. Such a different vantage point when she actually gave herself credit for where she was at. Similarly, you might be another example of this. You might be thinking about your business as if it's in a different phase than it's actually at. This kind of builds upon an example I just gave you a minute ago, right? When you think that your business is new, or you're just figuring this out, or you're learning how to be a business owner, and you've actually had several clients under your belt, you end up pursuing such different strategies to grow your business. It's very different to grow your business from, I've never had a client, and maybe even I haven't even left corporate yet. It's very different to grow your business from that vantage point than from the vantage point of, I've got a couple of clients under my belt, and so now how do I want to make this more repeatable and more scalable? So again, when you don't give yourself credit for where you're actually at, you end up stalling and making your growth so much slower. You also end up procrastinating because you feel like you're not good at something, or something's hard for you, or that it doesn't come naturally to you. Of course you're going to procrastinate, versus giving yourself credit for what you've already done, giving yourself credit for what you already know, and operating from that vantage point to essentially light the kindling in a fire. And if we were to use that analogy, and be able to build upon that. So those are the types of things when you think that when you're not giving yourself credit, you end up self-sabotaging, or what I like to call business sabotaging. You end up burning out. You end up procrastinating. You end up underpricing yourself. You end up overworking. You end up following strategies that don't match up to where you're actually out at in your business. And that's ultimately what creates those ceilings for you. So now that you know the harm in this, let's just, one more slide on this, and then we'll move on. I really want to drive this home. When you're not giving, so I drew a picture for you. Think about you're climbing a mountain, and you know at some point there's a little flag on the top. It might be kind of over on the edge, so you can't actually see the flag, but you know it's up there. When you think you're down here, kind of at the beginning of the hike, instead of almost to the flag, you have such a different thought process going on. Like, oh, I better conserve my energy. Oh, this is going to take a long time. Versus, oh my gosh, I'm almost there. I just need to push to the summit. Such a different mentality, right? And so think about it when you think about it from your business perspective. If you think you're kind of toward the beginning of the hike versus almost to some form of a summit, it's going to feel like such a harder task to get to the top. It's going to feel like such a heavy lift to get to the top. And so you end up procrastinating. You end up wasting time. You end up solving the wrong problems in your business. It ends up being such a emotional and energetic drain. And you end up kind of, if you think you're not as far along as you are, or you don't know as much as you do, you end up creating a dynamic where it ends up taking you so much longer. Slower growth, a stall, the plateau we've been talking about as a result of this. Another quick analogy that I love here, one of my colleagues shared this with me, so I'll pass it on to you. It's almost as if you've made think back to high school, if you played high school sports, and you made the varsity team and you're a starter. Maybe you're just on the bench. Let's use that as an analogy. You made the varsity team and you're on the bench, but you're on the varsity team. You still have maybe some more skills to sharpen, but you're on the varsity team. But you still think of yourself as like on the freshman JV or junior varsity team. That's so different of a mentality and the way you see yourself. If you're approaching the game as if you're like the freshman bench warmer, it's very different than if you give yourself credit for being on the varsity team and, someone who they see as a contributor to that, to the highest level of the team in high school, for example. So different. Same with your business. If you see yourself as this like bench warmer, someone who's just getting started and brand new and learning how to run a business, so different than, you know what, I've done this 1,000 times in different ways, maybe not for myself, but for other people. And all I need to do is transfer those skills. Do you see the difference there? That's why this is so important. Okay, let's talk about why you're doing this to yourself. At the end of the day, you are a consultant. You are someone who loves solving problems. You're wired to solve problems. So this is one of your strengths. It just happens to also be a weakness. Our greatest strength is often our biggest weakness, right? And so this would make perfect sense that you're focused on solving problems. So rather than giving yourself credit for where you're at and not seeing a problem, just seeing, you know, something you can continue to grow, you end up creating and recreating the same problems over and over again. So it's simply a matter of your strength is backfiring on you, and it's most certainly fixable. That's the most important thing here. This is fixable. So let's wrap up here today with how to fix it, how to give yourself credit. How to give yourself credit so that you can solve your business challenges from the proper vantage point and not from that like seat warmer spot on the freshman bench. Not from the bottom of the mountain when you're almost to the top. So the 3 steps here are, number 1, be aware. Figure out where is this showing up in your business. And I gave you some of those examples earlier in this video. Assume that it is, because it's so often a challenge that I see for other independent consultants. So most likely it's happening for you, whether it's blatant or sneaky, as I described. Find it, figure out where you're not giving yourself credit. Then get the facts. Where are you? Like, figure out where on the mountain in the hike are you relative to whatever the summit is, in this case, your goal. Get the facts, like my son's swimming, right? Go figure out what are for him, it was like, let's figure out what your times are, your best times compared to the qualifying times, and then figure out if there's a problem here or not. Qualitative and quantitative facts. And then finally, purposefully shift your vantage point. Redirect it. Not from I'm striving or I'm learning or I'm just beginning or I haven't done this or I'm not good at it. This isn't who I am. Instead, asking yourself, where have I done this before? How is what I'm doing already working and I can build upon it? How do I already know how to do this? And quite frankly, and this is a topic for another video, which I promise will come in the future, but quite frankly, rather than putting yourself behind where you're at and trying to run your business from that vantage point, put yourself ahead of where you are and run your business from that vantage point, from the vantage point of the person who's already achieved whatever it is that you want to accomplish. That's the ultimate way to purposefully shift your vantage point. But in the meantime, if you can't quite get yourself to the version of you as a business owner who's accomplished what you want to have accomplished and the way you would be thinking about things from that vantage point, at least give yourself credit for where you are. All right, so that's what I have for you today. Go put this into action. Go do those 3 things that I just described to you, step 1, step 2, step 3, and then go take that independent consultant's business scorecard to see where you are at from a scalability perspective. It will help you to pinpoint exactly for you where you might be holding yourself back in terms of being able to scale your business so you make more money, you have more impact, and you can have more fun and joy and fulfillment doing it. All right, so that's what I have for you today. If you're interested in understanding more about what I do as a coach for independent consultants, you can go to my website, melissalieberman.com, and you'll see a work with me page there. You can see a lot more about the private coaching that I offer for independent consulting business owners. And so go check that out as well. But nonetheless, go take that scorecard is the first step, and then go look at the Work With Me page, and you can see more about the program in general. So be sure to go take those 2 steps, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care.